On a hot August night in Georgia, Army medic Taylor Williams would meet a different enemy in a battle that would soon turn deadly. Taylor meets up with Ashley Eason, his ex-girlfriend, who's out partying with friends, including fellow soldiers Andrew Peacock and Troy Grundorf.
He had a quick altercation with Troy Grundorf. Taylor went over. Apparently, he hit him, and then he left.
At first, the fight appears to be over. Far from it. Later that night, Taylor grabs Josh for a drive-by of his ex-girlfriend's apartment and uses a key fob to set off her car alarm.
Was this sort of like a juvenile prank?
Yeah, just messing around.
But what it becomes is a call to battle. What you're about to hear is Josh's story. It's a version of events that's shocking in its brutality and raises as many questions as it answers.
We heard people yelling, and they were running out towards the road, like to the edge of the road, just throwing their hands out, yelling. Taylor puts it in park, gets out, runs straight up to Troy and hits him, and they start fighting.
Josh says that's when Lauren's boyfriend Andrew Peacock jumps into the fray.
Taylor's on top of Troy hitting him, and then I notice Andrew and starts getting on Taylor's back.
Now Josh's heart stops cold. He suddenly sees the glint of razor-sharp steel raining down on his best friend.
So you saw Andrew going and just repeatedly stabbing Taylor?
On his back, yes. And I jump out of the truck and I run over. I grab Andrew and I hold him up against Ashley's Jeep, and then they started stabbing me.
Dazed and bleeding, Josh knows it's time to retreat. He grabs Taylor and they both stagger back to the truck. But Taylor's wounds are worse than Josh thought.
I noticed Taylor starts walking a little slower, and he got to the sidewalk and just collapsed. He didn't move at all again.
Josh escapes and flags down a nearby cop. But when officers arrive on scene, they find Taylor dead from the stabbing. Josh expects police to arrest Andrew Peacock, the man Josh says held the knife. But that doesn't happen.
Is Andrew in prison?
No.
Was Andrew ever arrested?
No, no one was.
No one was arrested?
No.
Something doesn't add up here.
Yeah.
Why isn't Andrew in cuffs right now?
I don't know.
Josh has never wavered from this account, but Andrew Peacock has not been charged with any crime related to Taylor's death.
So you basically watched your best friend get stabbed to death right in front of you?
Yeah.
1,000 miles away in Connecticut, uniformed officers awaken Taylor's mom, Nicole, with the gut-wrenching news. Her beloved son is gone.
And then you're numb. And then you think, well, I gotta go where he is. Because what if he's scared?
Nicole rushes to her son's side, but all that's left are grim final arrangements.
Taylor was my hero. But in my mind, I'm still his mother. And I didn't want him to be alone. I didn't want him to be afraid. I know he's big, strong, he's tough, and he's resilient. He's intelligent. He's a hero. And he's a survivor. But this is different. This is the unknown.
And now this heartbroken mom is angry and demanding answers. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation's detectives collect evidence, interview the witnesses, but their findings have Taylor's family and best friend baffled.
They said they were going after Troy.
They told you they were going after Troy?
That's what they thought.
For the murder?
Mm-hmm.
Josh tells me that doesn't make any sense to him. Why? Because Josh says Troy Grundorf wasn't the guy with the knife that tragic night. That was Andrew Peacock, and Josh claims he's the one who stabbed Taylor.
Did you tell the district attorney flat out, hey, you're going after the wrong guy?
Yeah, I told them. They just told me that it wasn't Andrew. They just kept trying to get me to change it.
Josh says Troy Grundorf was the guy with Ashley, Taylor's ex. Josh was only a few feet away and vividly remembers Troy wrestling with Taylor on the ground. Josh says that's when Peacock jumped in and started slashing.
But again, I want to be 100% clear, no ambiguity. It was not Troy Grundorf that stabbed you.
It was Andrew.
It was Andrew.
Yeah.
And that stabbed Taylor.
Yeah.
He actually passed.
Josh took Nicole and me back to the scene to play out his side of the story.
Walk me through what happened.
In Josh's crystal clear account, Taylor and Troy Grundorf scuffle on the ground, and Andrew jumps into the fray, slashing furiously with a knife.
So I'm going to be Andrew.
Okay.
And I'm basically on Taylor. You say I'm stabbing him. What do you do?
Come up.
Okay.
After pulling Andrew from Taylor, Josh says Andrew starts stabbing him.
And Andrew then is what? Just going like this? And where do you...
Swings around the other side.
Swings around the other side.
After 11 deep cuts, Josh says Andrew ends the fight with a face-shattering headbutt.
My arm goes limp a little, and he
Okay.
swings his head forward, and it comes back and breaks my nose.
Okay, so when your arm is limp, he just slams his head backward and breaks your nose.
All of this, says Josh, is in plain sight of Taylor's ex, Ashley.
As I held you here,
Uh-huh.
Ashley was standing right in front of us.
Really?
They were just right there.
So there's no ambiguity or uncertainty on their part. They know
They were
exactly
right in front of us.
right there.
Yes.
Adding to the mystery, Andrew Peacock was the only one of the 4 guys in the fight that wasn't cut.
Troy Grundorf, he was stabbed as well.
Yes, sir.
So are we to believe that he stabbed himself?
I asked them that, and they said they can't answer that.
How he stabbed himself?
Yeah.
And stabbed you and killed.
Troy was stabbed in the
Taylor.
head, and like somebody gonna stab themselves in the head.
Valid question.
Yeah. They said they don't have an answer for it.
Josh sticks to his guns, but the Camden County DA still brings charges against Troy Grundorf to a grand jury. 2 for involuntary manslaughter, recklessly coming to Andrew's defense with a knife, and 1 tampering with evidence charge for getting rid of the murder weapon. If that sounds unbelievable, the grand jury seems to agree. The manslaughter charges are dismissed, leaving Troy Grundorf to plead not guilty to simply tampering with evidence.
Basically, the district attorney went after Troy Grundorf for tampering with evidence, and that is hiding the murder weapon.
Yeah.
Right? But no one to this day has been indicted, let alone prosecuted, on the actual murder.
Yeah.
Again, this is all Josh's account. If there's another side of the story, who will tell it? A spokesperson at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation tells our producers they can't comment given the pending tampering case. Troy Grundorf's attorney, Richard Allen, sent us this terse text message. I do not discuss pending litigation. I am aware of your reason for calling. And we're told Andrew Peacock was called up for Army Active Duty Reserve. That leaves one other person, Taylor's ex, Ashley Eason, who now owns the house she once shared with Taylor.
She moved into the house 2 weeks after I left Georgia from Taylor's funeral.
Can Ashley tell us why no one is being held responsible for Taylor's death? Next.
We just got a tip that Ashley is at her house. We're going to ask her what really happened that night. It looks like here are the cops.
Slashed him and butchered Taylor that terrible night.
I know who stabbed me, and I'm not changing it.